Well, again, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holiday Hill Church's Building Blocks, Parenting for the 21st Century. I'm Joshua Slocum, and today we hop into communication. So tonight, we talk about communication. And when it comes to communication specifically with our kids, what are the things we want our kids to know about the world and about us? Because that's ultimately what communication is from a parental perspective. What do we want them to know about the world and about us? I would imagine our answers fall into three major categories. Three. Consider the following. Number one, don't die. Don't die is probably one of the major categories of communication. Should I take this fork and put it in the electrical socket? No, don't die. Should I jump off the bridge because all my friends are doing it? No, don't die. Should I not wear my seatbelt? And should I stand on top of my friend's pickup truck and like do the cool little handstand like in Teen Wolf back in the 1980s, like Michael J. Fox, and do a handstand on someone's like delivery truck, and that'd be fine? No, don't die. Here's the other one. Don't do anything stupid. It's similar to don't die. Sometimes the don't do anything stupid can lead to don't die, but don't do anything stupid. What do you mean? So you mean I shouldn't, spread peanut butter all over myself and then roll around in your bed? No, don't do that. Don't be stupid. Do you mean that maybe I should, not pay attention to the teacher's class and, make straight F's? That's fine. No, don't do anything stupid. That's usually the big one. So don't die, don't do anything stupid. And then the last one is we love you. We love you. Mom and dad, here you go. Son, daughter, I love you. You're valuable to me. You're precious to me. And back to the first two, I don't want to see you die and I don't want to see you do anything stupid. And why? Because at its core, we love you. Mom says we love you. Dad says we love you. I love you. You're my son. You're my daughter. We love you. As parents, we go through a metamorphosis with relation to our children in communication. And this is something that in youth ministry I've noticed happens, and tragically I've seen especially in the youth ministry stage. That's where I would argue or contend, that's where the big shift takes place in parental role. There's a shift that takes place, and it happens whether we realize it or not. It's one of those things, and again, with all of us here, we have kids. This has happened to me before. I'm curious to know if it's happened with any of you. I don't know if it happens so much with daughters, but I can vouch it does happen for sons. Do you have a moment where like you put your kid to bed and then you woke up the next day and they literally grew out of their wardrobe literally overnight? Yeah. Like I literally have had that happen. I had it happen twice with my son. Like we put him to bed, the next morning the pants are like to his shin, his shirts are like midriffs, and it's like they all fit literally last night. I now have to go out of the clear blue unexpectedly, have to buy a whole new wardrobe for this kid because he literally grew out of everything overnight. That's what I mean, like a shift takes place. Sometimes our communication method, our parenting method, there is a shift that takes place. And the problem is if we're still using the same methods we use when they were 4, 5, 6 years old, and now they're 15, 16, 17 years old, it's one of those, we call it a great Josh trope or Joshism up in the youth department. That is, what did you think was going to happen? What happens if I'm literally at this point, when it comes to communication, I'm literally speaking a foreign language with my teenager? Because again, the way I spoke to them when they were younger, it doesn't work the same way, because a shift does take place in that transition. I say it happens right about middle school. Sometimes it can happen a little bit earlier, late elementary. But here's what the shift is. I would divide it as 2, possibly 3 categories. The first one is the voice. That's the first like level. Level 1 of parenting with kids. You're the voice. What that means, you're the one-stop shop of all things knowledge and wisdom. You're it. You're the end-all to be-all. What you say goes, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Don't put a fork in the electrical socket because I said so. That's all that needs to be said. Why? Because I said so. The end. Don't cross the street. Why? Because I said so. Here's the other one. Dad, how much money does the president make? Oh, he makes like $10 million a year. Of course he did. My dad just said he made $10 million a year. That's all I need to know. That's fine. And I mean, in the eyes of our children at this stage when we're the voice, we are Pope level infallible. We can do nothing wrong. We are practically perfect. We are the strongest. There's no one faster than us. There's no one smarter than us. We can open the pickle jar. We can get the straw in the Capri Sun pouch. Like this my dexterity is unlike anyone else. I can get the straw in the Capri Sun pouch. We are the voice. There's no one else. We are, and because of that, and because of that stage they're at, their personality is very heavily dependent upon us. Their their self-worth is very much tied to us because we are the voice. What the voice of mom and dad says means everything in those stages. So if we communicate how we love them, how they're precious to us, how they're special, there's nothing, absolutely nothing that can go contrary to that can go against that. This is the dad said it, it's true, the end. Mom said it, it's true, the end, because we are the voice. Here's where the shift happens. We become no longer the voice, we become a voice. And this, like I said, this usually happens right around middle school. Is usually when it notoriously happens. And it can happen in late elementary, and it's normal if it does, but it's usually right around that time. I'd say around that early in 9 years old, but definitely by age 11, age 12, you're definitely going to see it then. That shift, that transition, that shift does kind of shift over. And in and of itself, it's not bad. It's actually very logical. What does a voice mean? We are one in a sea of many. Technology has sped up this truth. Social media, smartphones have actually accelerated this even more. Online video games have accelerated this more. As we push our kids to be less couch potatoes and go out and play sports, whether that's t-ball or cheerleading or soccer or even musical things like piano or choir or anything like that. That's the thing. Logically, it happens because they're now surrounded by other people, and they're surrounded mainly by their peers. There are other adults, like in the school system, we have teachers and administrators, but mostly it's their peers. It's kids that are around about their age, who come from around about the same area of town they do, most of them, not many, not all, but most. And it's now been sped up. There's all these other people, and they say other things that may be correct, or at least appear like they're correct. And what makes it even crazier is what happens, again, when the many outweigh us. This is a sad one, but it's a harsh, true one. Sometimes daughters will look at us and they'll say they can't wear something because they won't be pretty if they wear it. Or maybe our daughters will tell us that they're not pretty. And you think to yourself, who told you that? Who said you weren't pretty? I'm your dad. You're the prettiest little girl I've ever seen in my life. You're adorable, you're sweet, I love you to the moon and back. When you're the voice, it means everything. And don't get me wrong, when you're a voice, I think it's still important, for sure, most definitely. But what happens when all the other voices say something else? This is where things can go awry. This is where things can go south. I'm no longer the voice. I am one voice in a sea of many. And there are plenty of voices. So the goal is we want to have a third shift. And the third shift is we want to be an important voice. And again, there's still a lot of voices out there, but this one voice, the voice of mom, the voice of dad, this is an important voice. This is a voice that now I'm at this age, and again, it happens around adolescence, around teenager life. This is now a voice that I will choose to value. And even beyond that, back to the important voice, in the teenage years, a teenager could choose to value it because, again, there's still consequences for their actions with respect to discipline. More on that next week when we talk about discipline. But, so I value what mom and dad says because I don't want to be grounded. I value what mom and dad says because I don't want to get the car taken away. I value what mom or dad says because I still want a roof over my head. I want them to kick me out. And sometimes maybe that thought process is there. But I would go even deeper with the important voice, and that is after they're 18, after they no longer have to listen to what you have to say, where is your status with your child? Where is the status with your son or with your daughter? Are you still an important voice? We desire to be there. We want to be there. And again, this is the desire we want to be. When we're no longer the voice, we want to be an important one, but for some parents that does not happen. So I have an illustration I want to show you. It came with an article by a Christian author and motivational speaker. His name is John Cuff, and it's what I've shared with many parents and teenagers before. So just getting ready. It's going to be a cartoon on the screen. And I want you to be ready for it because it kind of sums up why do I, okay Josh, I was the voice, now I'm a voice. Why is it important that I need to be the important voice? Why is it important that I need to strive for this? And especially with respect to communication, establishing why this is so important. It looks a little something like this. This is why. Get your moment just to sink in on that one real quick. By the way, the Halloween stores are currently open, currently filming with you guys in here. And if you haven't been to a Halloween store recently, it's comedic because there's truth in the comedy here. You got 2 Halloween costumes, one for boys, one for girls. And for the boys, you got Dracula, superhero, ninja. And for the girl, same little girl over on the other side, you got sexy nurse, sexy witch, sexy bunny, sexy cat, sexy fairy, sexy vampire. And yeah, like a lot of the moms and a lot of the ladies are like, exactly. How do you find something like, tasteful but still cool at the same time in this modern day world? Because as much as we bemoan the hypersexualization of our kids, someone's paying money for it, and some people certainly want to wear it. And again, back to that voice in the sea of many. What happens when all the voices are doing this? What happens when all the voices say, yeah, you can dress like that. It's fine. It's acceptable. You should dress. You'll look really good in that. Yeah, some moms are like, nope. Yeah, exactly. In the article, he shares this cartoon. What happens is he shares the story. John Acuff, one of his first jobs was he was in advertising. He got a job with Bose, the sound company, Bose, B-O-S-E. And one of his first gigs was marketing these really high-end noise-canceling headphones. And if you're familiar with the headphone market then and now, headphones, high-end headphones, they can get priced, over $100 easy. They're like sneakers now, for crying out loud. I remember when they were like, back in my day, they were like $5. Not anymore, man. Yeah, not anymore. And Bose has a noise-canceling headphone, and their ideal market was to college graduates who got their first career job, that first career paycheck. They got that real disposable income money now. They can throw down $100 for a nice set of headphones, and that's who they wanted to market to. And what John admitted and discovered was that their main competition was Sony, and Sony was kicking their butt, and they couldn't understand why. The price point was comparable, so it wasn't like theirs was more expensive, but the quality of Bose was actually superior. Scientifically, technologically speaking, Bose had a better product. Why are people going to Sony instead of Bose? And he realized it. He said in the meeting once, he said in the article as well, he's like, here's why. Sony sold these kids their first stereo at age 7. Sony gave them their first PlayStation and video game system at age 13. Sony sold them their electronic equipment at age 15. And now here we are coming in at age 23 trying to sell something. We're foreign to them. Sony has had a 17-year head start on these kids. We're strangers. We're not trying to come in and tell them something. They're like, excuse me, who are you again? And he makes the parallel with parenting, and here's the quote. We let the world start the conversation. We let celebrities drive their dreams. We let society define their values. Then at age 15, we show up in their life and wonder why they're lost. Take a moment to appreciate the realness of the statement. We let the world start the conversation. We let celebrities drive their dreams. We let society define their values. Then at age 15, we show up in their life and wonder why they're lost. This is where communication is important. And the sooner the better, but as we learned last week as well, there's no really such thing as too late if we here and we watching are truly committed to start now. If we can truly be committed to start now, it's not too late. Now, admitting, would it be better if you have more weeks than you do less weeks? Of course. If you have younger children, now is the good time to start. But even if you have older children, now is the good time to start. You have to communicate. You have to interject yourself in their life. And here's the thing. We're 20, 30, 40 plus years old, many of us. Many of us watching, same thing. You're 20, 30, 40 plus years old. There's a reason that we don't have a lot in common with a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old or even a 17-year-old. And if we do, there might be another issue to work out there. So the things that interest them, the things that excite them, the things they're passionate about, we probably think are absolutely ridiculous. My daughter watches the stupidest shows on YouTube. Like, they are completely nonsensical. Like, what's the point? Who's the character? There's no character? What's the plot? Like, there's no character development here. I can't understand this. Like, this is dumb, But she loves it. And I love her. So I invest now for the purpose of later. Something to consider. When we communicate with our teenagers, we invest now for the purpose of later. Again, the series is called Building Blocks. This is one of the reasons we called it Building Blocks. You set the foundation now for that next level. If right now you're hearing this and you're the voice in your kid's life, you set the foundation now in preparation for the day you will be a voice. And if you're a voice now, you set the foundation for being that important voice later. So it's about communication. How then do we communicate effectively? How do we do this? There are 3 verses of scripture I want to share with us. And then off those, I want to give just some good, simple, practical. This is what I'm giving. It's not all-encompassing. What about this? What about that? We have a Q&A session at the end of the series. So, if there is anything else, feel free to ask. But here are some that I just point out. Again, is my experience, 20 years as a youth pastor. I got a son and a daughter myself. And just want to share a few things that I've seen in my experience in 20 years of youth ministry. The first one comes out of Ephesians Chapter 6 and verse 4. Ephesians Chapter 6 verse 4 is actually a command to fathers specifically, but I think mothers it can apply as well. But I don't think it's by accident that it was addressed specifically to dads. And that is, it says, fathers, provoke not your children to wrath. Fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath. How do I provoke my children to wrath? I'll put it to you this way. If you have a sibling, you know how to provoke someone to wrath. If you have a sibling, you know how to provoke someone to wrath. Either because you did it or because they did it. Chances are it was both. But the reality is we know how to provoke people to wrath. We know how to poke them. We know how to push the buttons. We know what proximity looks like. We'll get in their face. We'll yell. We'll scream. We'll amp up. We'll call names. We'll accuse over. And again, it's almost like a boiling pot. It's like a pressure cooker. It just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And then here's the thing. Because we're the parents, when the kids then go, what do we, the parents, do? Well, we gaslight it. Like, why are you so bad? Why are you upset? Listen, you need to have a better attitude, young man, young little lady. You need to have a better attitude and stuff. I see it happen with parents all the time. Hopefully here in the room it hasn't happened with you guys. I've seen it happen more times than I can count. In my youth ministry career, I witnessed a woman literally stand outside the youth room. We had windows in the doors. She would stand outside the youth room and look through the little porthole window at her son and watch him like a hawk. Just watch him. Watch him. And if he did anything, she immediately, whoom, in front of God and everyone, whoom, swing that door open, come on in, yell and scream and dig into him. And to be fair, some of the things he did really weren't all that bad. Like one of them, he was playing ping pong. Him and a fellow student were playing ping pong. Click, 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 click. They're just playing on the ping pong table. And he had a really good spiky, bam, he spiked it, he got his point. He's like, woo, yeah, game point. She comes in and just tears into him. Tears into him. You shouldn't gloat like that. You shouldn't be like that. The kid's 12. And he played a good game. He's playing a game with friends. If you didn't know, let me help you out here. Teenagers, when they play games, especially video games, especially boys, they trash talk. It's part of the culture. And again, he wasn't being ugly. He wasn't being vulgar. He was just celebrating. Tore into him. He doesn't talk to her anymore. Wonder why. He's now in his 20s, possibly 30s now. Maybe actually 30s. Doesn't talk to him anymore. It is very sad. So again, let's endeavor not to provoke our children to wrath. Proverbs 15:1, similar but different. Wise King Solomon says, a soft answer turns away wrath. Grievous words will stir up anger. Harsh words stir up anger. Soft answers turn away wrath. When they get louder, we speak softer. When they get amped, we as the leaders, we're moms and dads, we're the leaders. We set the pace, we set the tone. If we're going to set the pace and set the tone, and they're screaming, and then we scream even louder, and they're so anxious, guess what? They're going to get louder. Who won here? And here's the better question, who's in control here? If we expect and we want our children to be in control in certain situations, then we need to exercise control ourselves. Soft answers turn away wrath, but those harsh words stir up anger. Many of us have worked jobs. Many of us have had bosses and managers. If our boss and a manager gets us in our face and tears into us about how lazy we are, how incompetent we are, and why can't we just use our head, and they say that to us day in and day out, every single one of us would be looking for a new job or dreaming about giving him a stone cold stunner on a Tuesday. I mean, we're all there. Many of us have had bosses like that and we walked away from them. These are our children. And reality is, as they say, the apples don't fall too far from the tree, which means this, if we don't like it, chances are they don't like it. And sometimes the justification is, well, I did it. My parents did that to me. We talked about that last week, right? Assess how our parents did things. It doesn't mean our parents were terrible, but it also doesn't mean that they were infallible either. There were things mom and dad did that may have been wonderful and endearing, and we love and respect them. And if that be the case, that's wonderful and great. But there are things they did that maybe could be tweaked upon, maybe could be improved upon, and that's part of the reason we're here right now. That's part of the reason we're listening right now. So don't make that an excuse. Well, my parents did what, I turned out just fine. You're very well correct. But that's not an excuse to say, I can be better, and we can do better, we can improve. We can take a good thing. We can stand on the shoulders of greatness. Your mom and dad's may have been great. That's great. You can stand on their shoulders and build from where they started. And for the ones that have and the ones that do, God bless. Soft answers turn away wrath. As a result, let's endeavor that our communication turns away wrath and doesn't stir up anger. The last one is James 3, 5 through 9. The summary is this. The Apostle James, half-brother of Jesus Christ, basically in this particular passage, if you wish to read it, is essentially talking about one thing. He talks about how the tongue is a destructive force. It's a fire. It guides things. It can build up, it can tear down, and it can destroy to the core. Many of us have lived in a generation where you heard the phrase, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. The professional counseling industry exists because that statement is a lie. There's truth in the humor. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. The entire counseling industry exists because that statement was a lie. And again, as mom and dad, especially in those moments where they're younger and we are that the voice, our words have serious power. Huge power. The words of fathers with daughters are huge. They can build up or they can destroy. That's what James is addressing to a church, mind you, a group of Christians. The words that come out of your mouth, what you say, how you say it, can build up and tear down. It is a force to be reckoned with, unlike any other. So again, let's endeavor in recognizing the immense power we have in the lives of our children. So those are the passages I want to share with you. The rest is related to that, and that is, practical day-to-day, like, okay, that's great, Josh. I want to communicate better. Like, how do I start? Where do I start? I want to give you a few things that can help you along the way. Here's the first one. Know their love language, exercise it often. Now, some of you may not think, you're like, what's a love language? It was professional counselor, marriage counselor is where it started. Gary Chapman is his name. And he noticed a phenomenon amongst married couples that were dealing with like conflict. And oftentimes it would go a little something like this. They would feel the other member does not love them. And he would set them aside, like I said, like, why do you think your husband loves you? He never talks about my haircut. He never says that I'm pretty. He never appreciates my outfits. He never says those things at all. And then he would look at the same husband like, what, you don't love her? No, of course I love her. I take out the trash. I mow the lawn. I cook dinner. I do the dishes. But she doesn't love me. Why doesn't she love you? Dude, she doesn't do the laundry. She doesn't take care of these things. Do you love him? Well, of course I love him. Why do you love him? Because I tell him he's handsome. I tell him he's smart. I'm catching something here. And what he discovered in his experience as a professional counselor was that humans, interpret love in what he defined as 5 unique categories and ways. 5. He calls them the 5 languages. The guy made like an empire off this thing. But as funny as it is, there's truth in the humor. Everyone has humanity is basically, he divides them into what we call 5 love languages. Most people have what's called a primary and a secondary. So out of these 5, 2 are probably like what we would define as scratching your itch when it comes to love. The first one is, as I mentioned, words of affirmation. Hearing those words. You're pretty. You're great. I love that hair. You look handsome today. You're really smart. I'm proud of you. You can do it. Positivity words. When they hear that, for some people that's their love language. When they hear it, it works for them. Gift giving. Again, some people think that like that's gold digger stuff. It can be, but not necessarily at the same time. It can be something as like, I ran into the gas station and I got you a candy bar. I brought you a card, or I handmade a card. I made you a card. I made you an arts and craft project. I did a popsicle stick figure thingy or whatever. Gift giving. I went out of town on a trip and I come back with a gift. For some people, that's gift giving. Gift giving, receiving something. It communicates, I thought of you and you're special to me, and that's why I gave you something. Gift giving. Quality time. Sit on the couch, watch TV, go to a movie, go to a ball game. Quality time. I'm just hanging out. We're going on a bike ride. We're heading out to the beach. We're walking on the beach. Or maybe just sitting on the beach and just like We're going to a theme park and watching people go by on a park bench and like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they wore that out in public, you know. Or they went to Walmart and did the same thing. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we wore this out in public, you know, whatever. In Target, you have to dress a little nicer. But, you know, quality time, acts of service. That's made you a sandwich, cleaned the room, did the dishes, organized the drawer, organized the bookshelf, you know, acts of service. And lastly, physical touch. Again, similar like the gift giving. People think gift giving is all about gold digging. It's not necessarily materialistic. Not necessarily. A lot of people think physical touch is always sex. No, it's not. Sometimes it's as simple as a back massage, a hug, a pat on the back, holding hands, caressing, fist bump, little fist bump, physical touch, just physical touch type things. Our kids interpret love, chances are, in one or two of these very unique ways. Which one is it? By the way, there's a good chance it's not yours. You probably interpret love in one of these ways. And again, there's tests you can take online to find out for sure. If you want to make your kid take a test online, you can. But what I have discovered this with love languages is this. If you pay attention, you'll figure out what theirs is. In the case of my own life, my daughter is all about hugs. My daughter also doesn't like being alone. She likes being with people. You better believe her love language is physical touch and quality time. My son, he loves, same thing, he loves snuggles, he loves hugs. He loves it when people like give him back massages and back scratches. He's a physical touch kid. He's a physical touch kid. Again, usually if you pay attention, you can figure out what your kid's love language is real fast. That's true for anyone, by the way. Watch how they communicate love, because maybe the way they're communicating love to us or to someone else may not, especially for us, might not be, again, it might not scratch our itch. I'm not a gift giver. My wife is. Mm-hmm. My wife will give me gifts when she goes out of town. And again, I appreciate, like, I know what she's communicating. I'm like, well, thanks. But to me, I'm like, thanks, you know? But man, when she cleans the bedroom, acts of service, yeah. She did the dishes for me. She took out the trash. Wow, that's awesome. I have a great wife. Do what? Yeah, folded the laundry, yeah.
Wait a minute,
yeah,
I'm supposed to do that all the time anyway.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Acts of service.
I work from home. It's very easy to do all that stuff.
Yeah, find out, and again, part of it's just being observant and paying attention. Now, if you don't have that much time, go online, you can pull up a quiz, take this quiz, tell me what you scored. You know, you can do that real fast too. Find out what their love language is. And here's what you do. Every day, make it an intention. I'm going to fill this tank up for them. I'm going to communicate love in a way that they understand, in a way they interpret, in a way that's real to them. And again, it might not be yours. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with your kids. Communicate love in ways they understand. Again, back to our goals. Don't die, don't do anything stupid, and we love you. Here's the we love you right here. And that's like a low-hanging fruit. 5 minutes of your time will figure out what it is, and at that point, make it a point every day to do something about it. Like, I'm going to do this for him today. I'm going to say this today. I'm going to hug him today, whatever the case may be. Do that for them and do it every day. Here's another one. Make time for the things they love. Don't just go to the game, encourage the game. You know, if they're part of a ball team, if they're part of a music crew, if they're part of a band, if they're part of a choir, if they just like to sit back and play video games online, sit and watch them play the video games. Sit and watch their YouTube channel. Watch a television show with them. That's what it means. Don't just go to the game, encourage the game. When they bring a friend over, be a good hostess to the friend. Value the friend. Ask your child about the friend. Hey, what about this friend? What about him? You know, if they're going to a ball game, again, encourage it, be a part, invite yourself into their world. If they're down for it, then don't close the door. If they open the door, don't close the door. Walk, again, back to the communication thing, why it's important. We do it now for the purpose of later. Walk through the doors that they open those doors for us. Mom, I want you to see this really cool thing that I drew on this video game I just made. Okay, yeah, whatever. No. Okay, let's go take a look. Or maybe you're already in the middle of something that is legit, like your souffle is about to explode if you don't take care of it in half a second. You know, okay, sure, give me 5 minutes and then I'll be there. By the way, if you say give me 5 minutes, be a man and woman of your word. 5 minutes and, you know, we're done. You know, wait till I get the souffle out, wait till I get the cake out, and yeah, I'll go check it out. Be men and women of your word when you make those promises with your kids. But yeah, be in their game, be involved. Ask questions for the purpose of understanding. You know, I was watching the game, you did that. Why did you do that? Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm not familiar with basketball. I don't know football that well. Did the coach tell you to do that? Why did the coach tell you to do that? Helps also reinforce knowledge. School, especially, by the way. Ask those questions. Ask those questions about school, whether schoolwork, their homework, their recitals, whatever they're doing. Ask questions, because that also, the communication communicates something about beyond that, and that is, I'm interested in your life. That's ultimately what it's saying. I'm interested in your life. Now, when things go wrong, when things go awry, especially, and this is true for teenagers especially, like I said, when that shift starts taking place, I would say late elementary school, here's a great thing to do. Ask, how can I help, or what do you think needs to happen? And then listen before you fix it. Hey, how can I help? What do you think needs to happen here? They're in the mess. Listen before you fix it. Sometimes what we do, because again, we're rushed, we're stressed, we have things on our plate, we have deadlines to meet, we got to be at the job, we got to be at the school, we got to be here, we got to get to the grocery store, we got to get this turned in by this time. Some of us are in the school process. We're still doing school ourselves online. We got to test our thing, we got to do ourselves. We're in different situations. As a result, like, we see our kid and they're upset. It's like, yeah, sure. Here's the answer, go. Move. Listen before you fix. Which is connected to this. Practice active listening. It's actually an actual exercise, a method for this, active listening. The first one is here's step one for active listening. You hear them out. What's going on? How can I help? What do you think needs to happen? Hear them out. Let them go. Just let them go. And again, I cannot expect a 13-year-old to act like a mature 29-year-old. I cannot expect a 7-year-old to approach something that a 35-year-old man is going to approach like. That's unreasonable. That's insane. But many times in parenting, we expect them to be on our level, and that's not really fair to begin with. If they're 7, they're going to whine. They're going to cry. They're working out their emotions. Okay, hear them out. Just hear them out. Then step 2, repeat what they said in your own words. So what you're telling me is, fill in the blank. Then here's what's going to happen. They're either going to say yes, they're going to affirm it, yes, and then they continue. Or they're going to say no, and then ask them to clarify. Well, apparently I misunderstood. So what happened again? What's going on? And maybe they might get, after you do that a couple times, they might go, look, again, soft answers, right? I want to understand. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. I like to help. Active listening. Hear them out, and then put it in your own words. So what I'm hearing is, fill in the blank. Be engaged. This is a huge one, especially in the 21st century. If we do not want them on their phone, we must do the same. If we do not want them on their phone, we must do the same. Many of Generation Z they get their chops busted. For so many of them at the dinner table or at the restaurant doing this. For all the Generation Zs that get busted, let me tell you, I've witnessed many of your millennial parents doing the same thing. I've noticed many of the Gen X parents doing the same thing. I've noticed many middle-aged moms on level 1,642 of Candy Crush. If we want them out of the phone, we must do the same. If we want them engaged in the family dynamic, if we want them engaged in communication, if we expect that of them, again, who's the adult here? We're the adult. We're the mom. We're the dad. We have to set the example. If we want their phone down, we have to put our phone down. There's creative ways to do it if you want to, but especially when talking with them, the phone needs to go down. Text messages can wait. Phone calls can go to voicemail. They really can. There was a day, it was called the 80s, where people would call your house and you weren't home, and they would leave a message on an answering machine. And people, after you get the message, after you come home, you call them back, and no one thinks anything ill of this. It was perfectly fine. They'll leave a voicemail. They'll leave a text message. Get to them in 5 minutes. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. If the house is on fire, it's still going to be in fire in 5 minutes. It's fine. It's all right. Put the cell phones down. If we want them to put the cell phone down, we need to put the cell phones down. Body language speaks. Here's a few of them. Maintain eye contact. Keep the shoulders square. In other words, if I'm talking to this person right here, I don't need to be, shoulder this way. In other words, my shoulders need to be this direction. Now, of course, if you're in a car, that may be difficult. But in a non-car, driving, traveling situation, try to keep the shoulders square, or at least keep your head square with them, like you're looking at them. Maintain that eye contact. Don't roll your eyes. Don't heavy sigh. Don't tap your feet. In short, treat them how you want to be treated. Treat them how you want to be treated. Because if they're sharing their heart, if they have a moment where they're pouring their heart out, and you're like, yeah, hold on 1 second. Dude, I just scored 20 points in fantasy. Take that, loser. Wink face. Sin. Okay, I'm sorry. What was that? You broke up with your ex-girlfriend? What was that? Yeah. Yeah. Body language speaks. It's huge. It's very huge. Okay, really, what's the problem? What's the big deal? Well, this thing's going to like, yeah, okay, that's what's going on in your life. Okay, fine. Oh, so what? Are you telling me this is all about you spilled a juice box? Are you serious? Is that, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Are we arguing about a juice box right now? The moment of the juice box is what I would define as superfluous. The juice box doesn't matter. We're all in agreement. The juice box doesn't matter. But as we mentioned before, we're setting a foundation now for the later. Can't stress this enough. When we communicate with our kids, whether they're toddler, preschool, elementary school, teenager, college age, the way we communicate with them is setting a foundation for the next stage and the next level. If mom and dad are going to freak out over a juice box, or worse, or on the other side, not care about things that are important in my life or in my world, what happens with the next important thing in my life and in my world? Why should I tell them? And when we become the A voice category, why should I tell this voice over here when all these voices are just but a click away with my thumbs, and they'll reply to me instantly? They'll give me all the relationship advice I need. I don't approve, but I understand. Body language speaks. Which, in relation to that, this is a life goal, life lesson, not just for parents to like children, but to your spouses, to your friends. Practice and encourage using texting for only factual information, and this is why. A lot of our communication is body language. It's tone. It's how we conduct ourselves. It's how we are holding our eyes, our face, our facial expressions. About 60% of communication is not the words that come out of your mouth. So what happens in a text message when all I see are the words? There's no tone behind it. There's no body language. Right out the box, you're already communicating at 40% of the way you should be communicating. So, for example, factual information. Hey, what time's the meeting? Factual. Hey, did you want combo 1 or number 2? Did you want that with or without onions? Hey, I'm at the store. What do you need me to pick up for you again? Hey, Aunt Ethel's coming by and she's going to ask for a casserole dish. Can you hand it to her? Hey, can you get the chicken out of the thought? Factual information stuff. You know, hey, Mom, I'm going to be late. Basketball game went into overtime. You know, factual kind of stuff. Factual is fine. But what I call like DTR, define the relationship stuff, how you think and how you feel about a situation, take that off text messaging. Make that stuff face-to-face, not just for your kids, but in life in general. And again, we're the parents set the example. Make text messaging factual information. Please make it factual in nature. This is not the time via text message to talk about how we think they're lazy, how we think they're dumb, how they frustrate us when they do X, Y, and Z, why is it every time I ask for this, you're always doing this? Well, that's factual. No, that's emotion at that point. And here's the thing. We read that in black and white, and what naturally happens is we assume what the body language and tone of that typer is. 90% of the time it's wrong. And for teenagers, 100% of the time it's wrong. This is why teenagers get stressed out and anxious over social media and text messaging more than anything else, because they're assuming way too much when people are sending them text messages. Keep it factual. The game is at 5 o'clock. Period. You know, I will be home at 7. I like mustard barbecue sauce, not ketchup barbecue sauce. You know, whatever the case may be. Like, factual information, keep it there. When we communicate with our kids via text, keep it factual. Cut and dry, factual. So they're not looking at text like, what does she mean by pick up garbage bags before I get home? Okay, literally, she means what she means because she keeps it factual. As they get older, especially in that teenager phase, start employing what I call the Socratic Method. The Socratic Method. What that means is this. Ask questions, get them thinking. If they come to us with a problem, do not immediately give them the answer and solution. Here's why. Because again, building for the next stage, there's going to be a day, heaven forbid, but mathematically and hopefully by the natural way of life speaking, there's going to be a day we're not going to be for them anymore. We won't be here. They need to learn how to figure out things on their own. They need to learn how to figure out conflict. They need to learn how to figure out life choices. And if we give them the answer and just lob them in, here's what you do, here's what you say, here's what go, do that. If we do that for them regularly, especially at the teenage years, they will fail to learn not just the what, but the why of why I'm doing what I'm doing. Why am I saying it this way? Why am I speaking it this way? A way that helps is the Socratic Method. When they have a crazy idea, back to like, don't do anything stupid, instead of saying, no, don't do that because I said so, again, that's a the voice kind of thing. When you become that a voice in the teenager world, if they're about to go do something stupid, ask the question, why do you think that's a good idea? What do you hope to accomplish by this? Who's going to be there? What time are you planning on doing this? Have you considered X, Y, and Z? What happens if this goes down? Make them think through their life decisions and choices. Make them think through that. Work with them through that. Maybe they're upset with a teacher. Well, why do you think the teacher was upset with you? Or why do you think this teacher, and they might share. Again, active listening. So what you're telling me is blah, blah, blah. Work through. What do you think is a good time to talk to the teacher? How should you approach the teacher? Should you approach the teacher all angry? Have them work through that. Have them come up with their own plan to solve their problems and walk with them through those problems. Guide them the answer. Don't just give it to them. Here's a big one. I've seen this too many times at youth ministry, I care to count. Avoid the I'm an adult line as an excuse for poor life choices. It will come back to haunt you if you do. Why are you doing this way? Why are you having hangover Saturday? I'm an adult. I can make my own adult choices. It will come back to haunt you. Again, we build that foundation for the next level. If we're using the I'm an adult or do as I say, not as I do line, whatever way you want to call it, if we're busting up those lines, here's the communication, the foundation we just set. Once you're 18, you can do whatever you want. And we might look at that, well, yeah, it's true. Once they're 18, they can do whatever they want. That's right. But what's our goals again? Don't die, don't do anything stupid, and we love you. Don't die, don't do anything stupid. And again, we talked about last week, many times what we saw our parents do, we do. And if we've been harking for years saying, well, I'm an adult, once you're 18, you can blah, 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 this, that, or the other, what do you think's going to happen when they turn 18? If we know these paths are destructive, we know they're poor life choices, but we excuse it because we're an adult, what happens the day they turn 18 years old? It's a rhetorical question.
Toga party.
Toga, yeah, exactly. Here's another big one. Praise publicly, reprimand privately, not the other way around. That's communication. In the presence of people, I will lift up my kids. I will say how I'm proud of them. I will say how they're wonderful. I will shout their strengths from the rooftop. But when my kid acts a fool, it's me and them in the room. Or me, mom, and them in the room. No one else. We'll talk more about discipline next week and how we go about discipline. But that being said, I don't reprimand publicly. That's the big thing. I don't reprimand them publicly. If they're with their friends and they're about to go do something stupid, call them aside. Come over here. Come around the corner. And you don't yell. Again, soft answers turn away wrath. Calmly explain what's going on. What are you doing? What are you thinking? And again, if you have to reprimand, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Please don't do that. Please don't play out in traffic. Don't lick the electrical socket. That's bad, you know. But again, I reprimand privately. I praise publicly. I speak highly of them. We do All Pro Dad at the school next door, and one of the best exercises we do at All Pro Dad is when dads come in with their kids when things are like non-corona, you know, in a non-corona world. We would have dads introduce their kids to the group, followed by what's something about your kid that you're proud of. Again, back to dads and our words as parents in general, but dads especially. Our words have so much power because in that exercise for many of these kids, I don't think it may be intentionally, I think accidentally, sadly accidentally, this is the first time in their life, it's accidental that it's the first time, it's sad it's the first time in their life, they actually heard their dad say something good about them. And not just say something good about them, but say something good about it in front of other people. I'm proud of my daughter because she's a hard worker. I'm proud of my son because he gets the job done. I'm proud of my son because he loves his mama and he values people who are good to him. Those words coming out of dad's mouth, saying it in front of other people. Oh my gosh, you want to talk about, I promise you, every dad who ever did that in All Pro Dad, that day for that kid was the best day ever. It motivated him, it uplifted him. My dad notices me, he sees me, he loves me, he values me. Speaks to the world, praise publicly, do it often. Talk to other people about how your kid is great. Don't be obnoxious, whatever, be obnoxious. And maybe by accident your kid will hear it or it'll come back around to him. Great. Praise publicly. have them remember important communication moments. It will help when they're older. When you implement this stuff, when they're going through like a crisis. And I'll give you an example that happened with me a few years ago. My son was getting ready for elementary school, and his book bag was this big, and his stuff in the book bag was about this big. And again, elementary school kid, apparently spatial awareness isn't his strong point. So he's trying to fit this much stuff into this much space. It's not working, and we're getting ready. It's time to go to school. We got in the car. You gotta be late, and he's losing it. He cries. He amps up. He goes from 0 to 60 in 2.5. Most kids at that age do. I'm so stupid. Okay, I'm gonna be late on this. He's losing his mind. Hey, son. What's the problem? What's going on? This stuff, and I gotta get this stuff in my book bag. And okay, yeah. Okay, so do you mind if I help you out a little bit? You can try. Okay, well, here's what we do this. Do you need this? No? Okay, take this out. Do you need this? Okay, let's put this in. Work through the whole thing. Got his book bag together, all the stuff he needed, got it fitting in, handed it to him, put it on. I said, and then this is what I did. I said, hey, did I hear you out? Yeah. When you were upset and screaming, did I yell at you? No. And I heard you. I listened to you, right? Yeah. Did I help you? Yeah. Did we work out together? I mean, you asked Dad for help and Dad helped you out, right? Yeah. And I still love you, right? Yeah. Did I kick you out of the house? No. Did I put you up for adoption? No. He laughs. No, I didn't put you up for adoption. Son, I love you. You can come to me with stuff. If you're upset, we can work through it out. We'll work through it together. It's okay. Come on, let's go to school. 5 minutes. Did I care about the book bag? Absolutely not. Didn't care about the book bag one dang bit. It's a book bag. Who cares? There's nothing about the book bag. It's setting the foundation now for the later. It's setting it now with a book bag so that in 6 years down the road, when his girlfriend breaks up with him, he knows who he can go to. He knows who can listen to him. He knows who will work out his issues. Again, and that by that age, he has plenty of voices. He has plenty of options he can go to. I want to be that important voice. So this is what I do. The book bag meant nothing. It was the lesson behind the book bag that was important. Many of us as parents, we have those opportunities in our life. Again, 35-year-old world, 40-year-old world, teenage world, 9-year-old world, those things don't mean much to us. They're kind of insignificant. But again, we build now for the purpose of later. I'm setting the foundations now for that next stage and next level. Lastly, I say this to people who ever do youth ministry, it applies in parenting as well. You laugh with them, you cry with them, you pray with them. If you remember anything, remember that last one. Laugh with them, cry with them, pray with them. What that basically means is this. On the good days, you celebrate. On those good report card days, on the days they got a trophy or a ribbon on the competition, on a day they got a new high score, whatever the case may be, celebrate with them. And again, maybe budgets are tight. Maybe you can't go to Ruth Chris. That's okay. Maybe you can go to happy hour at Sonic and get like a 99-cent Route 44 cherry soda. You know, whatever. Celebrate the moments. Celebrate, again, back to that praise publicly. Shout it from the rooftop. Laugh with them. Celebrate with them. Enjoy them. Build memories with them in those good moments. Cry with them. When things are rough, you cry with them. You hurt with them. Now, there is a rule here. If they come, the teacher's dumb. You don't become a fellow revolutionary in arms. You're right, that teacher is dumb. We should overthrow the school. Rah! No, please don't. Don't do that. But, if they're upset about a teacher, if they're upset about a relationship at school, if they're upset about things in their life, you can empathize with them to a degree. You can sympathize. You can be like, okay, yeah, that sucks. That stinks. I'm sorry this is happening. Man. Well, how about, or maybe they're hurt. Maybe they got like broken arm or something. Get some rest. Maybe they're sick. Take care of them. Again, that's the point of crying with them. When they're hurting, hurt with them along the way. Again, in a mature manner. Don't go down to 6-year-old hurt level. But again, you work with them, you walk with them. And then the last one is pray with them. And we'll talk more about that in 2 weeks. We talk about spiritual leadership. But I can't tell you enough. Praying over your children will set a foundation like you can't believe. Pray with your children. When they're walking through stuff, when it's those good days, take a moment and say, let's pray and let's thank God for the wonderful things He's doing in your life. Take a moment and praise God with your kid. Let's pray right now. Dear God, thank you for my kid. Thank you for what they did. Thank you for what they accomplished. We give you all the praise. Amen. On those sad days, man, that stinks that this is going on. I'm sad you're hurting right now. Is it okay if we pray right now? Let's pray for it right now. You pray with them and see good things happen. You laugh with them, you cry with them, you pray with them. These things all add up together to build a really good foundation. So again, in the midst of all the voices and all the social media and all the text messages and all the friends, and we all know, many of your friends you have in middle school and high school, almost all will fall to the wayside. You might have one or two if you're lucky, but I mean, most of them are going to fall to the wayside. They don't know that yet. And there's no amount of us telling them right now that's going to make them believe that yet, but we know. But we want to be that stalwart. We want to be that North Star. We want to be that important voice in their life. These are the way we set those foundations. So with that in mind, I'm going to pray for us, and then we will head out. Next week, we talk about discipline. So what happens when they act a fool? What happens when things get too much? What happens when they crash the car? What happens when they threw a party in our house? What happens when they decided they wanted the whipped cream and the powdered sugar and it's all over the living room with the hot sauce? You know, what do you do then?
You put them up for adoption.
You put them up for adoption. We'll talk about that next week. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and pray. Dear Jesus, Lord, thank you for each parent here. Thank you for each parent that will be listening in the days and weeks to come. And Lord, may we build that good foundation for communication, for the purpose of growth and the purpose of building for that next level and that next era and stage of their life. We love you. We look forward to what you have in store for us. So we ask all these things in Christ's name. Amen.